Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Confident Women Leaders Show. We had to change a platform, so we wanted to make sure that you guys were all here and present and want to be able to address a really, really important, serious issue that we have right now. And it's something that's very hot in the media right now, and it's called gaslighting. I've got two guests, which I'm going to introduce to you in just a minute, but I want to be clear about what this topic is about. Gaslighting was just recognized by the High Court in an article written by Laura Hampson just recently, about a couple of weeks ago, that the courts are actually allowing the word gaslighting. We've actually given it some legitimacy and some credibility. And it's around people who have been abused. And gaslighting came from 1938 play when the movie in 1904 called Gaslight. It was a set of psychological manipulative behaviors to get people to doubt their own realities, right? It warps victims of their reality. As we go through a lot of work that we've been working on, all three of us have worked on work around this subconscious thinking and around how we create our own realities. And so I want to jump into this. This is a very important topic, and I want to say thank you to my two guests. I want to introduce Sharon Weinstein and Enoh Ukpong. So I wanted to thank you both for being a part of this very important issue that we have going on today, but also the fact that we create a reality, and I call you all risk takers. And what that means is risk takers are creating realities that they can choose their own outcomes. You women are incredible. So I want to talk about your history, about the abuse, and to tell your story, but also to give listeners and viewers of this particular video ways to be able to define how to create your own success, because I think you guys are some of the most successful women in nursing today. So I'd like to start with you, Sharon, and just introduce yourself and a little bit about your history and your abuse and how you were able to overcome that. And then I want to give Enoh an opportunity to tell her story. So let's start with Sharon.
Sure, happy to do so. And thanks for the opportunity to be with you today and to join you, Enoh. This is really a true privilege. I grew up in the Philadelphia area, the middle of five kids. But even though I was the middle of five kids, I often felt as if I was the only child. I often felt as if I was not a part of the clan, if you will. I was a little bit different. Probably when they said yes, I said no. When they said you can't, I said I can. And when I was growing up and my dad said, learn to type, you'll never amount to a damn thing, I decided that my role in life would be to prove him wrong. He was a bully. He was the ultimate bully. My mother was also a bully, but frankly, not bright enough to realize that she too was a bully and an enabler. She didn't understand her role in the process. My dad was a bit of a pervert. Today, he would be in jail if he were alive, but he was a pedophile. He sexually assaulted other people beyond his five children. And that was his modus. He was manipulative. He was a control freak. It was all about the power. And it was all about minimizing everyone else in his presence and making them feel less than ideal, total lack of self-esteem, just feeling really abused and misused. And that's the way that I grew up. I was able to get out of that environment by going to nursing school, having a safe roof over my head, 3 meals a day, a whole new set of colleagues, a different opportunity to grow and to reach and to partake in therapy and to do all of the things that I needed to do personally to feel whole. But not everyone, Dina, has that opportunity, nor do they realize that it's time to think differently and do something else.
Yes.
Back to you.
Your story just really touches my heart, as will Enoh's story as well. And so thank you for sharing that very personal side of you, Sharon. And I know those are still painful times for everybody. I can't imagine because I've not been in those shoes. Enoh, I would love for you to jump in, introduce yourself, and please tell your story.
My name is Enoh Ukpong. I am a Nigerian American. My story, the core message in my story is turning your trial into your triumph. I was abused by my own brother's wife for 7 years from the age of 7. I never thought I would make her alive. I was physically, emotionally, name it, And she actually was trying to ruin my education by being an obstacle. But by the grace of the Lord, as young as I was, I realized that my only way to true freedom was through education. So I did not buy all that she was doing. Sometimes she would stop me from going to school on time until it's like 2 hours late. She's like, you can go now. It's like, why? But in spite of all that, by the grace of the Lord, I walked out alive. I have scars all over my body.
What did she do to you,
She will starve me. She will, one day I was just walking through the door, she pulled me unexpectedly and I hit my forehead on the door frame, split my forehead. And she said, I wish your head was split into two. I can't even imagine, I can't go into all the detail, but to cut the long story short, by the grace of the Lord, I got out alive. The day I walked out of my brother's house, all I saw was freedom, whatever it takes to get it. So like Sharon had just said, I finished high school. I ended up going to nursing school, from there to midwifery school. And then I found my way to the US, where I continued and got my bachelor's, master's, and a PhD in nursing in 1989. When I got to that, which was my dream, I was so happy knowing that nobody can take what I have.
Yeah.
So I ran with that. Right now, the core message in me that I want to share with the whole world is there is nobody that have not gone through stuff. We have gone through stuff in the past, currently, and in future. Nobody is immune to it. But what you do with whatever difficult situation you've been through is very, very important. Some people, because of how terrible it was, they resort to drinking, to drugs, to pornography, to name it. That doesn't help your future. That always makes you spiral down the drain, get worse and worse. But if you look carefully, you can grow, you can be strengthened to build yourself up and be happy at the end. That is my triumphal story. Today, I am a happy woman. I don't have much, but I'm happy because I have my freedom.
I love that. I love that. And I want to talk a little bit about, creating this new reality, because going through, both of you went through these incredible abusive situations. There's no question they're just, devastating. You also, at your period of time in your life, had to create some capability of going back to the people who abused you. So I want to talk about how you were able to do that and come to that place of the new reality of being able to come in and face the person that's hurt you the most, because that would be the hardest thing for most people. And I'm going to go back to you, Sharon.
Okay. Confrontation is a serious issue. There are some people in your lives who, when you confront them with what is obviously the truth, they deny. My father's choice at that time, because he was unaccepting and unwilling to admit what he had done, was to attempt suicide, and he couldn't even get that right. I recall the time when one of my nephews went down to the lower level because he was staying with them at the time, and he found him with a bag over his head. He couldn't even do that right. And he was admitted to a psychiatric facility for a while. He still never, ever, ever in all of the years post-treatment fessed up to what he had done. He wasn't willing to admit it. I think that for the person who is the victim to rise beyond victimization and to move beyond that and to be whole is really important from a standpoint of reaching that goal. And you can do that by educating yourself, by not reacting to the process, by not second guessing, was it me? Was it something that I did? Am I at fault? Because it's not about you. It is about the other person, the person who is in fact causing the abuse, inflicting that pain. And I think that it's really important as you grow and as you develop and as you move on, whether you're able to confront the individual successfully or not, it's about setting boundaries and not allowing that to happen to yourself again. So, Dina, in our conversations, I'm all about boundary management. I think it's critical. But I think that those probably are the keys, that it's not about you. It's about them. It is their problem, not your problem. And you are not at fault. You did nothing wrong.
Powerful words, Sharon, powerful words. I'd love to know, because I know you went back to Africa. And what was the change in your thought process and your new thinking that said, I'm going back?
The Lord revealed to me clean and clear to go and forgive. Forgiveness is not necessarily for the person you are forgiving, it's for you to have peace. Before, immediately I mentioned my brother's wife, I would be so angry that I could punch somebody. So I went to church that day. The message from the Lord to me was, if you cannot go in person, write a letter. If you cannot call, whatever, go and forgive, so that forgiveness is for you, more so than for the person. So in 1996, I traveled all the way to Nigeria just for this reason, to forgive my brother's wife and my brother, who never said anything about what I was going through. I forgave her. It was so peaceful. It was so sweet. It was awesome. I did not only forgive her. From then on, I took care of my brother and my brother's wife till they passed in 2019. I had no problem with them. The only thing I couldn't come in terms with, I believe Sharon hit it right, is boundary. I swore that I would never eat or drink, put anything in my mouth in my brother's house, because when I needed food, they didn't give me. Now that I have, why should I eat in their house? That I kept. So I kept that boundary. I go there, I said, no, thank you. I don't need it. That I forgive and have peace.
Yes, yes. And I want to talk a little bit about, I know you guys have some books, and I can't say thank you enough for sharing that. Overcome hardships by creating new realities for yourself. And I heard freedom from you, Ukpong. I also think there is a sense of not only boundaries, but a freedom for you, Sharon, in being able to create the world that you think that you want for yourself. It's a new reality. This gaslighting thing is so huge, and how many people fall victims of these realities, right? And feel like they have no choice. They really do have a choice, right? And that we can step over that. And that's certainly easier for me to say than it was for you that have been products of abuse, because I was not a product of an abuse situation, but my heart bleeds for, both of you. I'd love for you to talk about both your books. So I know, Sharon, you and I have a book coming out. Why don't you kind of speak to that? And then I want to come back to your book as well.
Okay, before we do that, I want to mention, because I think it's really important, that gaslighters are skilled at twisting the truth to benefit themselves.
Yes.
And that's why I talked about boundaries. Once you establish boundaries, it helps you to heal.
Yeah.
You had talked about going back to Nigeria and confronting your brother's wife. I actually was able to, when my father was dying and needed wound care, to go to Florida and care for his wounds and care for him. And I remember when my sister said, how can you stand to touch him? My comment was, to me, I'm not touching him as my dad. I'm touching him as a patient. He's a patient with a wound, with a vascular ulcer, and I would treat anybody the same way. So I think it's also moving beyond where you are and making it better. From a book standpoint, that's what led me to the opportunity to work with Dina on this whole concept of thinking differently. When you change your thought process and you start to ask the right questions of yourself and of others, you get the right answers. And so it's transforming and shifting that pattern of how you have thought about the things that happen to you. But it's not a woe is me. It's that here I am, and accept me for who I am, and I'm ready to fly and run with it and empower and educate and engage others to be all that they can be. This is a huge opportunity. So although I've written 16, 18, maybe more books, a lot of them have been on IV pharmacology. A lot of them have been very clinical textbooks. Over the past few years, I've really been writing more about balance in one's life, assuming responsibility for oneself, about education. I'm working on a memoir now that reveals a lot of these stories. But the opportunity to collaborate with you, Dina, on this book is truly special, because we have the opportunity to educate other emerging leaders,
Yes,
upcoming women in industry and in science and in all fields of leadership,
Right.
to reach and be their best, to be the best versions of themselves. But they can only do that when they shift that thought process and start to redirect their thinking towards something that will benefit everyone.
Thank you. Very well said. And one of the things that ties us all three together is we are touching other people. And believe it or not, we all have wounds. They're all deep. They have different magnitudes. They came from different sources.
Mhm.
But we're here to say you have control over that. You can unite together and know that you're not alone, and you're also not guilty for things that other people have caused for you, right? It's not your fault. So, Enoh, tell us about your book.
The title of my book is Joy Comes in the Morning, subtitled The Power of Drive, Discipline, and Determination. I never thought of writing a book. Like I said, I'm not a thinker, I'm a doer. When I had a 9-month sabbatical leave, I'm like, oh my God, if I did not go through what I went through, that abuse, what would I write about? I wouldn't be who I am today or where I am today. Because of what I went through, I want to share the behind it, because you are going through stuff, everybody is going through different stuff, but how do you handle it to come out triumphantly?
Right.
So this is my message. It hits me every day. I want to shout everywhere to people. You can use your trial to actually change your life for good. Don't let it drive you down the hole. So that is the core message. That is what I am singing. That is what I am shouting.
Mhm.
Joy comes in the morning, comes from Psalm 30, verse 5. Weeping will endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. My night of weeping was when I was in my brother's house. Since I walked out of my brother's house, I do not have tears of sadness. I could have tears of joy. I could have tears that energizes. I could have tears of miracles that the Lord has done for me, but I do not have tears of sadness because my weeping days are over. I am thriving and enjoying the joy that has come in the morning for me.
I think if I might, what's really interesting about your title, Joy Comes in the Morning, is that all of us need to realize that there is joy in the journey. And whether your journey has been transformed by pain or by suffering or by the ability to transform other people's lives and make them whole, there is joy in that professional and personal journey. And we all need to seek what brings us joy.
Yes.
To allow ourselves to grow.
That is why I do what I do.
Yes.
I am still at the bedside, even though I have been a professor of nursing for the past 21 years. I have never not done clinical, because that is where I belong. I am here nurturing and caring for my patient and my students. That gives me so much satisfaction. For me, is priceless. I can't put a price on it.
Yes. It's sharing the joy in each other. And one of the things that we all share is this clinical side of thinking, because it truly is where we all kind of give our very best and realize that we can't go through on this earth alone, and that we really do need to create impact for. I want to thank you for sharing your powerful stories today, and we take joy in each other and be able to create impact around the world. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to write with you, Sharon. That's been one of the greatest joys I could have experienced. And it was so great to meet you and hear about your new book and the impact that you're going to be making on other people as well. So let's talk about how people can get a hold of you, because that's an important piece of this video. So Sharon, how can people get a hold of you?
Okay, I have a consulting and coaching business. It is SMW Group LLC. So people can reach me at Sharon@smwgroupllc.com, or simply at Sharon M, and don't forget the M, Weinstein.com. And it's WEINSTEIN.
Okay. Enoh, how can people get a hold of you?
I am on Facebook, and I'm also on LinkedIn. My email address is eukpong@chada.net. And You need my phone number?
If you want to give it out, just you can. It's up to you, but I would suggest sticking with your email. You're just fine with that and they can get a hold of you. But we certainly want people to know. You've got two people here that can gift you the ability to see the things that you maybe can't see because of their journeys.
Mhm.
So
My book is available on Amazon
Yeah.
as paperback and also as an ebook on, what is it called?
KDP, it's also Amazon.
Kindle, on Kindle, ebook.
Gotcha. Yes. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining. I want to close and thank everybody for joining on the Confident Women Leaders Show, and know that you're not alone and you can think differently and create the future that you'd like for yourself. Thank you, guys. And
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having
Thanks,
us.
Dina.
you're
Thanks for
welcome.
placing the
Yes.
confidence in us to share these stories.
Yes,
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Take care. Enjoy your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope people gain from these stories and from our book. Thank you.
You're welcome.